Good morning. Welcome to the midweek edition of your breakfast on Leadership Television inside Nigeria. My name is Winifred Ugbepo, your host on the program. And today is December 10, 2025. Of course, the month is already counting. All too soon, we are in the 10th day of December 2025. Without wasting much time, let's head up to Nigeria's most influential newspaper, Leadership, to see what Leadership is offering this Wednesday. Leadership's leading story says employers fail to enroll 73.23 million workers for contributory pension scheme, and that story continues on page 4 of Leadership. Employers fail to enroll 73.23 million workers for contributory pension scheme, and the story, like I said before, continues on page 4 of Leadership newspaper. Let's take some excerpts from that leading story. No fewer than 73.23 million workers in Nigeria's public and private sectors are being disenfranchised by their employers from having a good life in retirement. Leadership can exclusively reveal. Latest data released by the pension industry regulator, the National Pension Commission (PENCOM), and assessed by Leadership revealed that only 10.92 million workers from the public and private sectors have so far joined the new pension scheme, known as the Contributory Pension Scheme (CPS), out of 84.15 million workers across the country. Earlier, the 2024 Nigerian Labour Force Survey (NLFS) released by the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS) showed that as of late 2023, Nigeria had approximately 84.15 million employed persons, a figure that may have increased over the last 2 years by the time a new figure is released next year. PENCOM data shows that 10.92 million workers have been registered by their employers under the CPS. Hence, the pension fund administrators, PFAs, have opened a retirement savings account, RSA, for each of them, into which their employers contribute monthly. Under the CPS, only employers can register their employees, as no worker can be enrolled without employer input, and any company with 3 or more staff members is required to join the scheme. We just saw some excerpts from today's leading story on Leadership newspaper. Employers fail to enroll 73.23 million workers for contributory pension scheme. How unfortunate. We'll go to back to the cover of Leadership to continue with the other leading stories. We have the picture of the Vice Chairman, Leadership Group Limited, Michael Quere, Vice President, Public Relations and Government Affairs, OPE, Dr. Maswe Loko, Director, Leadership Group Limited, Abraham Dazaya, Chief Operations Officer, OPE, Adedotun Adekunle, and Head of Marketing, OPE, Tanyi Gui, during the presentation of the Leadership Award nomination letter to OPE as Fintech Company of the Year 2025. In Lagos recently. That's a picture that is gracing the cover of Leadership. Congratulations to OPE. And of course, you know, it's no longer news that many Nigerians are taking to OPE because of his fast services. Still on Leadership, Tinubu working around the clock to tackle security threats coming from the Vice President Shettima. That story is on page 26 of Leadership. Killing soldiers worse than kidnapping school children, Gumi claims. That story is on page 7 of Leadership. Killing soldiers worse than kidnapping school children, Gumi claims. Both are very, very, very bad and worse too. You know, you don't compare such. Killing soldiers worse than kidnapping school children, Gumi claims. Only 6 million out of 30 million primary pupils advanced to secondary school, coming from the Minister of Education, Alausa. Only 6 million out of 30 million primary school pupils advanced to secondary school. What happened to the balance of 24 million? Does it mean that they don't advance, they just phase out after primary school? You have to read the story on page 25 of Leadership. Police officer to die by hanging for killing just undergraduate. Police officer to die by hanging for killing just undergraduate. That story is on page 7 of Leadership newspaper. Osun Governor Adeleke defers to Accord Party. That story is on page 26. While Senate summons aviation minister over spike in domestic affairs. The story is on page 27. Senate summons aviation minister over spike in domestic affairs. And on this masthead of leadership, Senate okays troop deployment to Benin as ECOWAS says community in state of emergency. Nigeria's Sahel states differ over aircraft landing in Burkina Faso. Lastly, on the cover of leadership this Wednesday, Fubara says, I joined All Progressives Congress to protect Rivers people's interests. That story, you see it on page 26 of leadership. Of course, yesterday, Governor of Rivers State, Fubara, Similaye Fubara, actually defected to the ruling All Progressives Congress Party, and he is giving reasons for his defection. The story continues on page 26 of leadership newspaper. We move ahead to page 3 of the paper, where we have our stand. Today's stand is on tax before defense minister. Tax before defense minister. Today's stand in leadership. Let's just take the stand inside the stand. It says, our charge as a newspaper to the Minister of Defense is to hit the ground running as Nigerians have become impatient with the security challenges in the country. The urgency of now cannot be overemphasized. He must chart a clear path by heralding an era of clarity of purpose in defense administration to translate the hopes and aspirations of Nigerians into tangible realities in the critical security sector. We are persuaded to advocate that the necessary leverage should be extended to the Minister of Defense to hit the ground running. The effectiveness of Nigeria's national defense policy is intricately linked to our socio-economic survival as a country. This realization, in our view, makes the task before the defense minister urgent and immensely daunting. But we are confident that he has what it takes to accomplish and meet desired national expectations. Excerpts from today's stand in leadership newspaper, tax before defense minister. Of course, over to you, defense minister. The tax before you is to hit the ground running, and many Nigerians have invested confidence in your ability to actually do the job. From today's stand, we move to the back page of leadership, where we have Wednesday column with Olufunke Baruwa. Today she's writing on Human Rights Day 2025, lessons from EIE's 15-year journey. Lessons from EIE's 15-year journey. Enough is enough, Nigeria. Today, as we honor Human Rights Day and celebrate EIE at 15, we reaffirm that human rights are not distant ideas. They are our everyday essentials. Quote from Wednesday's column. She says the urgent challenges that still confront us as a country require solutions steeped in consistency, courage, and creativity of human rights organizations in Nigeria. Now let's move to Ghana Must Go. On the news, Obasanjo says, I don't know my exact age. And of course, Ghana Must Go says, as usual in his caustic response, is he around 120 years? Now over to you, former President Olusegun Obasanjo. Is your age around 120 years, as Ghana Must Go is asking? Well, it's on that note to conclude today's review of leadership newspaper, Nigeria's most influential. Don't forget to log into the website of leadership for continuation of those headline stories. We move ahead to the next paper we have on our lineup, and that is Nigerian Tribune. Nigerian Tribune's leading story says Fubara joins APC, PDP loses out in South-East. Adeleke joins Accord Party, only 4 governors remaining in former ruling party. These are kickers to the leading story on today's leading May cover story on Nigerian Tribune. And of course, that story continues on page 4 of Nigerian Tribune. Senate approves Tinubu's request to deploy troops in Benin Republic. Community in a state of emergency, ECOWAS warns as coup insecurity deepening regional crisis. Applause Nigeria for foiling Benin coup attempt. Burkina Faso did not grant NAV C-130. NAV clarifies. Senate condemns abysmal rise in airfares. Summons Minister Fan airline workers, owners, orders. 1 ticket equals 5 months minimum wage, coming from Senate President. And is also a leading story on today's leadership. Senate condemns abysmal rise in airfares. Summons Minister Fan airline owners orders. We move ahead to the story above the masthead of Nigerian Tribune. Nigeria and Saudi Arabia signed 5-year defense cooperation agreement. Tinubu urges youth to dream big, sustain creativity, innovation. Kogi government says 21 children rescued from suspected banditry training. That story is on page 26 of Nigerian Tribune. Kogi government says 21 children rescued from suspected banditry training. Quite unfortunate. Is on that note, we also conclude review of front headline stories on Nigerian Tribune this Wednesday. For more, log into the website of Nigerian Tribune. We move ahead to the next paper we have on our lineup, still talking about Fubara Adeleke's defection, and that is The Guardian. The Guardian says Fubara Adeleke's exit shatters embattled PDP, deems 2027 hopes. That story is on page 6 of The Guardian. TCN faces red span and hinges instability on vandalism, gas shortage. Nigeria faces more shortage as Canada rolls out express entry for doctors. Soyinka condemns military intervention in Benin, Lagos demolitions. Thief communities file 100 billion naira suit against Taraba government army over alleged forceful land seizure. ECOWAS lost Nigeria for foiling Benin coup attempt. Senate holds WAEC curriculum change over concerns for 2026 candidates. Insecurity has no religious undertone, Fagbemi tells visiting U.S. delegates. Aid accuses Cross River local government chairman of mismanagement, nepotism. And that concludes review of front headline stories on the Guardian newspaper this Wednesday. For more, visit the website of Guardian at www.guardian.ng. From the Guardian, we move over to the next paper we have on our lineup, and that is the Punch newspaper. Punch newspaper has different story entirely as its main cover story. It says governors versus NNPC, tension rise over alleged $42 billion oil revenue shortfall. NNPC governors auditors trade blows over $42 billion under remittance accusation. FAC steps in, seeks review. We have the picture of Vice President Kashim Shettima doing a visit to the faculty and participants of the Executive Intelligence Management Course 18 of the National Institute for Security Studies at the Presidential Villa Abuja on Tuesday. Of course, the Vice President, as you can see with the picture, from the picture, have the service chiefs, some of the participants cracking with laughter. Underneath that picture, reps summon ministers over budget underperformance. Probe EFCC detains SAGF Malami. ECOWAS fears coup surge. Burkina Faso hold Nigerian soldiers. Beside the masthead of the Punch, PDP rages as Fubara joins APC. Adeleke shifts to Accord. And that also concludes review of front headline stories on the Punch newspaper this Wednesday. For more, log into the website of the Punch newspaper. Well, we'll move ahead to the last paper we have on our lineup, and that is Vanguard. Vanguard's news headline story says airspace violations. Nigerian Sahel states differ over detained aircraft soldiers. Nigerian military aircraft violated Burkina Faso airspace, Sahelian states. How France helped Benin foil coup d'etat. Macron's aid. Federal government to U.S. delegation, we have security challenges, not religious. Federal government to U.S. delegation, we have security challenges, not religious. These are kickers to the leading story on today's Vanguard. Airspace violations. Nigeria Sahel states differ over detained aircraft soldiers. Still on Vanguard newspaper, we have Adeleke moves to Accord. Fubara joins APC. Kidnapping children lesser evil than killing soldiers, coming from Gumi. Also another leading story in one of the papers. Insecurity, box stops on your desk. Onayekon Sheikh Lemu Khan orders Tinubu. Insecurity, box stops on your desk. Onayekon Sheikh Lemu Khan orders Tinubu. And just above the masthead, just beside the main leading story on the cover, Nigeria-US ties are treasured robust. Sunday Dari. And just above the masthead of Vanguard, government limits bidders to 2 oil blocks. And that concludes review of front headline stories on Vanguard newspaper this Wednesday. For more, log into the website of Vanguard newspaper. And also, it's on this note we conclude today's Inside Nigeria. Don't forget to join us same time, same station for another fresh edition of the program. My name is Winifred Webo. Thanks for joining us once again.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.